Some Chicago suburb homes sold in under 10 days this winter, and others sat for 120 days, and they still needed to cut the price to sell the house. Same price range, same zip code, totally different outcomes. Today I'm breaking down exactly why some listings are flying and what's keeping the others stuck. After 5.5 years of helping buyers and sellers across these markets, the pattern is clear, and it's 100% avoidable. Let me show you. So let's start with the homes that are straight up on fire right now. Now, when you look at the data coming out of January and February of 2026, across the western suburbs, 3 property types keep showing up in the fast sales column. And they're not random. They share specific traits that today's suburban buyers are actively hunting for. The first one is the 2-story home built around the 1990s. We're talking about 25 to 35-year-old homes. 4 bedrooms, traditional layout, attached garage. That kind of home was built when the suburbs like Naperville and Elmhurst were in their growth era. These homes are hitting the market right now in the low to mid $600,000 range in Naperville, the high $500,000 range in Elmhurst, and some in the $400,000s in Glen Ellen. And when they've got kitchen and bath updates from the last 5 years, they're not sitting. Days, not weeks, and the house is gone from the market. Here's why. Buyers right now are payment sensitive, and honestly, they're just tired. They don't want new construction pricing, but they also don't want a project when they first move in. A 1990s 2-story with a clean kitchen and updated baths hits that sweet spot perfectly. Modern without the premium, move-in ready without the renovation stress. And keep that move-in ready idea in your head, because when we get to what's making homes cold, you'll see exactly how presentation flips that equation. But back to the hot houses. Condition isn't optimal here. Clean and well-maintained is the baseline, not a bonus. If it looks like it just got vacated, it's going to sit no matter what zip code it's in. The second home type moving fast is split levels. These are your entry point plays in strong suburbs. Priced in the mid $400s to mid $500,000 range with the same updated kitchen and bath package, functional layout, clean and neutral presentation. Buyers in this range, they're looking for a value in a strong suburb, and a well-presented split level delivers exactly that. Days on market for these when priced right, they're 2 weeks max in competitive suburbs. That's going against a 50+ day suburban average, guys. So if you're in that price band and your home looks the part, you've got a ready, willing, and able audience. The third type of home is the brick ranch. Single level living, solid construction, low maintenance on the outside. When these come to the market updated and priced in the high $500,000 to mid $600,000 range, they get snapped up very quickly. The brick exterior alone is a selling point. Low maintenance is a real value proposition when buyers are already stretched on carrying costs, and single level living is something a growing number of buyers are specifically looking for right now. When these 3 home types hit the market in the right locations, the traffic is immediate, and location is where the story really gets interesting. Now, if you're watching this and thinking about making a move to the Chicago suburbs this spring, buying or selling, I work with families and buyers every day in these markets and can help you figure out what neighborhoods and home types match your situation. Reach out directly. My contact information is going to be down in the description below. Okay, back to it. So here's the thing. Same home, 2 different suburbs. One sells in a week with multiple offers. The other sits for 2 months. That's not a market problem, it's all about the location. And right now, location is doing more work than almost any other variable. Let's start with the 30 to 45 minute ring from Chicago. This is your Downers Grove, your Naperville, your Glen Ellen tier. Metro-connected suburbs with stable pricing, strong demand, and a commuter base that's been there for decades. Naperville's inventory in January 26 was sitting at just over a month of supply. That's a seller's market by every definition. Now, what that means for sellers is that your buyer pool isn't just locals. You've got Chicago-based buyers doing the math and realizing they can get 4 bedrooms and a yard for what a 2-bedroom condo costs closer to the city. The commute is the price of admission, and a lot of buyers right now, they're willing to pay it. Step inside that ring, homes with roughly 20 minutes of downtown Chicago, and you're in a completely different conversation. The LaGrange corridor, for example, on the BNSF line, it gets you to Union Station in roughly 20 minutes. These areas combined with top-rated schools, near city access, and when updated homes hit the market there, they don't last the weekend. Multiple offers within 24 to 48 hours for move-in ready inventory. Inventory is super tight, demand is consistent, and the buyers who know these markets, they act fast because they've already lost before and they're not gonna lose again. But the hottest locations in the entire suburban landscape right now are homes within walking distance to a suburban downtown. LaGrange, Naperville, Elmhurst, Glen Ellen, these 4 keep showing up when you look at absorption rates and buyer demand for updated products. You can get starter homes in the $400,000 range in LaGrange with the Metro BNSF access and an active downtown right off the train. And like I mentioned before, Naperville, it's going to be in the low to mid $600,000 range, just over a month of supply of inventory, and that Riverwalk downtown creates a lifestyle draw that's honestly really hard to compete with. Elmhurst and Glen Ellen, you can find properties in the mid $500,000 range. Super tight inventory though, with walkable access to their metro corridors. All four of these markets are running roughly 1.2 to 1.8 months of supply. That is super thin inventory. Walkability plus updated condition plus metro access. That is the formula. When all three come together, buyers don't deliberate, they don't wait around, they make decisions quickly. But there's one decision that sellers make before the first showing that determines whether all that location advantage actually converts into a bidding war and a very high price sale. Here's something that might kind of feel backwards. The sellers netting the most money this spring aren't the ones that are priced the highest. Far from it. They're the ones who are priced just below where everyone expected and watch the buyers compete for the home instead of negotiate against it. Homes priced 2 to 3% below where the comp suggests in that 450 to 700K range, they're selling in a few days. And more than 40% of them are getting multiple offers. The suburb-wide average days on market is sitting at 47 to 62 days right now. That gap is not a coincidence. And by the end, I'll tell you the big market takeaway from all of this data. You'll see that the market is way more divided than it seems. Stick around for that. But back to the pricing strategy. Here's the thing, that 2 to 3% positioning isn't a discount, it's a signal. When buyers see homes priced just inside what they expect to pay or slightly below, it creates urgency. It reads as a deal. In a market where buyers are payment sensitive and rates are still elevated, anything that feels like a deal triggers immediate traffic. Traffic creates competition, competition creates multiple offers, and multiple offers almost always push the final sales price well above where an overpriced seller would have landed after 60 days and 2 price cuts. Those cuts signal something's wrong, even when nothing is. Once a home sits, buyers start wondering why, and that skepticism is really hard to reverse. The seller who prices it right on day one typically nets more than the seller who overpriced by 10% and spent 3 months chasing the market down. Here's a number that stops a lot of people cold. In Naperville, homes that sold in January of 26 went for roughly 99% of the list price on average. That sounds almost perfect, right? But that average hides the gap between homes that sold in 5 days at full price and the ones that sat for 90 days before finally moving at a discount. The individual outcomes are wildly different, and the variable separating them is almost always the original list price. Pricing strategy controls your timeline, your leverage, and ultimately your net. Now let's look at the homes that are proving that from the other direction. The listings sitting right now and exactly why they're not moving. "60 days on market, then 90. Then a price cut that still doesn't move it." For some sellers this spring, that's not a market problem, it's a home problem. And the patterns behind it are consistent enough that most of them were avoidable from day one. The first cold category is choppy layouts. Closed off rooms, awkward traffic flow, a floor plan where you walk in and your brain just doesn't know where to go. Yeah, these homes, they consistently sit in the 60 to 90 day plus range. Not because buyers hate them, but because the emotional connection, it never forms. Today's suburban buyer knows what open sight lines feel like. When a home that doesn't deliver that, they move to the next one without a second thought. You can price a choppy layout down to compensate and eventually it trades, but you're giving up significant money to get there. The second cold category is homes that feel really lived in. Cluttered, dirty, heavily personalized, not staged. You know it when you see it. Presentation directly suppresses perceived value, and we're not talking about a small adjustment. Offers on these homes come in at 30 to 50% more aggressive on price because the presentation signals to buyers that either the seller, they just don't care, or the property has some issues. Staging isn't decorating, it's a financial decision. The gap between a well-staged home and an unstaged one shows up clearly in what buyers are willing to put on paper. The third cold category has gotten more pronounced over the last 18 months. Bad flips. Buyers are scrutinizing finishes right now. Grout lines, cabinet gaps, lighting that was clearly installed across 3 different eras, poor craftsmanship, and cheap materials. They generate showings and then they generate skepticism. You see, once a buyer identifies a flip as low quality, they start questioning everything that they can't see. The plumbing, the electrical, the mechanicals. That skepticism kills deals. These homes sit at 70 plus days when they're overpriced, and they carry that stigma the entire time they're on the market. The fourth cold category is the sterile investor home. vacant, no staging, priced by someone who did the math on the cost plus the margin and forgot that buyers make emotional decisions. An empty home without staging gives buyers nothing to connect with. They walk in, they feel nothing, and they move on. Combine that emotional flatness with aggressive pricing, and you've got a listing that can sit for months, usually ending with price cuts and a final number that the seller never wanted to accept. Choppy layouts, lived-in presentation, low-quality flip work, lifeless vacant staging, any one of these slows down a sale. Combined with a price that doesn't account for the trade-off, and you've got a guaranteed slow, painful outcome. Understanding what's cold makes the pattern behind what sells fast almost impossible to ignore. So here's the bottom line, guys. Pull back and look at everything we've covered today. And one thing becomes really clear. This isn't a broken market, it's a divided one. And which side of that divide that a home lands on is almost entirely within the seller's control. Suburban inventory in February of 26 is sitting at roughly 1.5 to 2.2 months of supply across the western suburbs. Medians are up anywhere from 0.5% to 7% year over year, depending on the community. The market is not falling, but it's not carrying weak listings the way it once did. It's selecting, and it's selecting hard for the right product. The homes moving fast, they share a clear profile. Updated, well-maintained, walkable location, or strong commuter access, priced strategically. Everything else is price sensitive and slower. And that's actually good news if you're willing to act on it, because it means your outcome, it isn't random. It's not rate dependent. It's not about what month you list. It comes down to decisions, condition, presentation, location emphasis, pricing strategy. And all those decisions are completely within reach before you ever put a sign in the yard and those cookies in the oven for the open house. The sellers who come out ahead this spring are the ones going in with that clarity. They know their home's position. That's why they price to create competition instead of leaving room for negotiation. And they present it like they actually want it sold. They don't waste 60 days chasing a number that the market was never going to give them. In this market, the home just doesn't sell itself anymore. The strategy does. Get the profile right, and the suburbs reward you fast. Get it wrong, and the market quietly passes you by, while the right listings go under contract down the street, and you beat your head against a wall. If you're thinking about selling this spring, and you want a straight read on where your home sits right now, shoot me an email at john@cintagerealestate.com. I'll give you an honest look at your positioning and what it means for your timeline and your ultimate number. And the video I've linked here breaks down Chicago's massive transformation through 2030, billions in new infrastructure, new districts rising, and a city layout that's genuinely changing. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next video.